everyone, it's Laura from Laura's Handcrafted Treats and Treasures. Welcome to or back to my channel. Alright, I am starting a new little series and it's called Let's Make a Card. I'm starting out with quite a few in this round, but I may add to it when I feel like making a card or a couple, and then I might be like, okay, I feel like making cards today, I'll add to this. Let's Make a Card. So this is going to be a playlist and it's, going to be called Let's Make a Card. And then I'll add to it as we go. But for right now, I have 7 cards that I'm going to show you the process. The beginning of the video is going to be basics. I'm going to start the basics out and then we'll go into making the card so I don't have to explain it every single time. Okay, so here, let's just go through them in random order. Here is a Thinking of You card. Here is a Sympathy card. Here is a Birthday Wishes card. Here is a Hope This Birthday is the Best Day Ever card. Not the, but best day. Oh yeah, the Best Day Ever card. Here is another Birthday Wishes, Celebrate Your Day. Here is another Sympathy card. And then here is a Thank You card. Okay, so they're all a little bit different. They're all, little tweaks here and there to make different cards. But yeah, 7 cards you can end up with. All right, so let's get started. Okay, let's just start with the basics. Let's get this out of the way, and then every time I do a card, I won't have to tell you the sizes. All right, so this is an example of what you can get out of a 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. Now, I use cardstock by Stampin' Up. This is their cream colored, which isn't quite as heavy as the black and some of their other cardstocks, but I do believe they sell a heavy white one, but it still does work pretty good for cards, at least for the ones I'm doing. All right, so out of that, when you cut your 11 by 8.5, when you cut at 5.5, you get this. You get 2 of them, and you're going to get 2 cards. Then when you score it, when you put it in your scoreboard, now I always turn mine a different way than most people because I just get a better grip on it like this. But now you're going to score the long side now, which is the 8.5, which is your long side. You're going to score that at 4 1/4. Okay, 4 1/4. So remember, if you've cut this down, you now have 2 card bases. Then once you're done scoring, you want to fold away from the score. You don't want to fold in because it gives you a nicer edge. And then before I really kind of burnish that down, I just like to make sure my corners are nice and snug together, and then you can burnish that down. Okay? So the same concept if you're going to make a fold that is this way. Now you're going to take your 8.5 by 11 and you are going to cut 2 pieces out at 4 1/4. Then you end up with these. Okay? Now to score those, you're going to put the long side, 11 side in, and then you're going to score this one at 5.5. And then you're going to fold away from the score line. So you're either going to have a card that does this, or it does this, And then, of course, you're going to have a card that either does this or it does this. Okay, so that being said and out of the way, I think I have a couple of different versions of that I'm going to be doing. All right, so let's just put this right here. In fact, I don't need this. We're going to put this right here. And this is your card basic. So your card basic is A2, which is the cards that I just showed you. So 4.25 by, 4.25 by 5.5 is an A2 size card, no matter which way you do the fold. And then the mat size for that is going to be 4 by 5.25. Now, what do I mean by mat? So I mat most of my cards. I put this mat around them, which gives it a nice border on the edge. It ends up being like 1/8 of an inch border. This one might be a little bit bigger. And then your designer paper or dressy paper or digital paper, that's what the DP stands for. If you're going to make that, or scrapbook paper, that is going to be, I'm sorry, the 1/8 border inch was for these two pieces, is 3 3/4 by 5. That gives you the layer on the inside. I don't do all my cards this way, but that is the basic of card making. Okay, so we're going to look at an A7 card, which is a 5 by 7. You're going to do the same concept. Your mat is going to be 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. It gives an 1/8 of an inch border. And then your digital paper, designer paper, scrapbook paper is 4.5 by 6.5. This card does not depict that because this is a little bit different, but it's going to give you the border that we just talked about that you saw on this one. Okay, so those are the basics. We've gone over those, and so I won't explain that again as I go through, but I will give you measurements on some of the other pieces that I am using. So here we go. Let's get started. Okay, let's get started on our first card. A couple things I want to mention. These are the die cuts that I'm going to be using. This, I think, came from Amazon. This, I think, scrapbook.com. This could have been Stampin' Up. It could have been Amazon. I don't remember. But you can find die cuts everywhere for your Big Shot machine. That's what I use. You can also use your Cricut, but this is exactly what I use. So a couple things. I have my sentiment, and this I actually print in my printer. So I go in there and kind of try to come up with a phrase, or I find one and change a couple things here and there, and then I just do my own printing so that I can just get them at the ready. So I have that. I'm going to put that in last. I have my card base, I have my mat, and I have my pretty paper. Now, the way I'm going to lay this one down, and sometimes they're different according to what you're doing, but the first thing, oh, I should have mentioned as well, these were the circles, and this came from one of my Stampin' Up stamps, and then this paper is from Stampin' Up. I don't think they have this one anymore, but this is just to give you an idea. I probably am not going to name all the papers because it would just take me too long. So the first thing I'm going to do with this one, and I like to use my mat, just sort of see, you know, where I'm lining up and getting it right. I'm going to glue this pretty paper to the mat. I'm using art glitter glue. I always use art glitter glue for just about everything because I just like things to be stuck down, and art glitter glue does that, especially in my journals. I want to put out a good product, so I like to use art glitter glue. So one thing about art glitter glue is it really sticks very quickly. So I try to line it up and I sort of lay one down, but I'm kind of holding it up just in case I don't have it where I need it. I can adjust. So once I have it where I want it, then I go ahead and press it down. It does dry clear, so if any comes out the sides. You don't need a lot. This stuff glues very well. But once, like I said, once it's down, and I won't be able to get that up. I would ruin the whole thing trying to get it up again. So now I have this piece of ribbon that I found in my stash, and it kind of matched the paper. And another thing is you want to get your cap back on there right away too. You don't want to leave that sitting around. So my ribbon is about 5.5. And what I'm going to do, I have a piece of score tape. Now I use score tape for stuff like this because it sticks very, very well. I have tried the Dollar Tree stuff. I've tried other things, but I don't go cheap on this one either. I use this one, a good product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my card sort of in the middle. I'm looking like kind of where is my middle here. And let's see. Or you can just eyeball it, you know, that works too. But I think this looks like my middle. And I'm going to get that score tape off there. Or that backing. And then I'm going to lay this approximately across the middle of the card, sticking it to my card, not my mat, because it will be hard to get up. Kind of all over the place on this one. Good enough. Looks good. Then I'm going to take this and fold it to the back. Okay. Now I am going to take this piece, my die cut piece, and I'm going to lay that in the center. So just find your center. I'm not really looking at the ribbon. I'm looking at the top and the bottom and the sides. That will all work itself out, but I want to look at the top and the bottom and the sides. Then stick that down when you have it where you want it. I'm then going to take my sentiment, or my mat for my sentiment. I'm going to glue. Well, I meant to put this on first, but it doesn't matter. I can still do this. I'm going to glue this in the center. And again, I'm looking here, here. I'm not so much looking around. I want to center it to this. So let's see right here. That looks good. And then go ahead and put, So Chiffon. That was the name of this one. So Chiffon. I had to make myself notes as to what I was using. And then I'm going to go ahead and eyeball this and center it as close as I can. Again, remember, I'm not putting it down very, you know, right away, because if I need to kind of move it, I can, which it does kind of look wonky. I'm going to get that back up before it sticks. Okay, there you go. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my front on to my card base. And then over the ribbon, I like to just give it a little bit of extra glue. And get all of that on. And that's what I like about this fine tip with the art glitter glue. And I think you can buy these for other glues, but then you're just not like squeezing out tons and tons of glue that you don't need, because this will stick. Okay, and then I'm just going to find my center here. Same thing. I'm not letting go of the card yet. I'm going to give myself a nice little border on each side. That looks good. And there we have it. card number 1. Let's put that sentiment in. That's when I do this. Now this you could definitely use like a good double-sided, you know, tape gun or score tape or something, but I just stick with my art glitter glue. It lasts a really long time. Okay, and we have that in. And there we go. We have a thinking of you card. You can go ahead and write here. If you wanted to, you could put another one right here of just a blank paper or little cardstock, and then you could write a note over there too. So that's the first one. Okay, here we are with card number 2. These have a little bit more moving pieces. So I have my card base. I have 2 mats for this one for the inside, one for the outside, plus my sentiment. So we're going to move that aside. Now on this one, what I'm going to do is this measures 5.5 by 3 1/4. So this is going to come to the top of the card to the bottom, which is what I want, but I am going to do my mat first. And then I'm going to put this on here to center it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put my mat. So it depends on the order that you put things according to the card design. Some people may lay them out a little bit differently. This is just how I'm doing it. I never thought I was a card maker until I just dug in. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make cards. I'm going to figure out how to do this, and I'm going to learn how to make cards. So I obviously am not an expert at it. I don't have an exhausted list of how to do it. I just knew I wanted to do it, and I thought maybe you would like to do some too. So while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put my sentiment, since I got my glue bottle open, I'm going to go ahead and put that one on and set that aside as well. Now, the reason I decided to do a second layer on this one is this white cardstock isn't quite as thick as the other cardstocks that I'm using. Like, this is a thicker paper, and this isn't, and neither is my base. This is going to help strengthen that up a little bit, so that I can have a nice thickness to my cards. Okay, that's on. And I'm going to set that aside. And then while I'm here, I think I'm going to go ahead and put this decorative piece, scrapbook paper. This did come from Stampin' Up. They do have some really pretty papers. I did get one not too long ago. I think I got a free gift, so I chose a really pretty paper, and they're all double-sided, so that's kind of a plus too. And then I'm just going to lay that down. When I first started using double-sided, I was a little intimidated to use the other, you know, to only show one side because they were so pretty. I was like, well, yeah, how am I going to show both sides? But yeah, I've adjusted and I'm over it now. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue this to my front. Oh, my ink. Looks like my printer ink was wonky there. That's what's good with some of these papers too. You just turn them over. Once you glue that down, none the wiser. None the wiser. Now this one, I'm definitely going to try to get in the center, top to bottom. I'm definitely not going to push until I feel like I have it where I want it. That looks pretty good. Go ahead and put that down. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my sentiment and my die cut. Oh, I forgot to show you that. This is the die cut that I used. I believe this was a Stampin' Up. And the reason it doesn't really matter is because Stampin' Up sometimes just doesn't carry, you know, they only have it for so long. I used to be a demonstrator. I've said this before in other videos. And then they move on and they do new stuff and they retire. So for me to mention it is kind of a waste when you can't get your hands on it. But I'm showing it to you because you could find something comparable. Okay. Or you kind of know what to look for. If you want to use this route, you can always do just a triangle if you want. You could cut 2 triangles. All right, so I have that, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place that in the center. Now, what I'm going to do with this, though, in fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and put my little die cut on first. Okay, so this is going to go just about here. And the die cut came from this stamp. And I'm using that one. And let me go ahead and get that put on there. Now this one, it can be glued. It's going to take you a minute. These little pieces, I, again, still use my art glitter glue. And I just try to take my time and at least glue all the ends down so that they don't come up. All the little leaves. And get it all over my fingers at the same time. That's all right. If you're not getting gluey, oop, I gotta turn it this way. And I'm gonna lift that up so I don't get glue all over my desk. Okay, that glue will dry. And then I have a little tie, a little bow that I've already tied. I'm gonna wait and put that on because now I'm gonna use my foam mounts, which are these. I've talked about these before. I get them from the Dollar Tree in the automotive section. And they work just fine. And for $1.25, they are much cheaper than getting them on one of the sites. Now, I do buy things on the sites, but if I can get it cheaper, then I'm going to look for it to get it cheaper. So I'm kind of going overboard. I like to put a lot of the foam just because I like it to, I don't know. You don't have to probably go. You probably put 3 down the middle and it'll be fine. But I have 6 of them on this particular one. Get all the little tabs off. Okay, and then I am gonna just center this right in the middle and push that down. And then I'm gonna go ahead and glue my little bow on. You can either glue on the paper or on the bow. Now it is gonna take a minute for that bow to set. So I'm gonna leave it alone, and then I will come back and trim these a little bit shorter. Actually, I should have put my inside on first, but hey, we can still do it. So now I have this for the inside all ready to go. Now, if you want to mass make, of course, just cut all your pieces out and do one step at a time, and then you can just make a lot of them. I don't usually mass make these type of cards, but I make all of my Christmas cards now that I'm a card maker. And I make all my Christmas cards, and then sometimes they're all different. I try to make them all different, but the basic steps are usually assembly line. So I'm going to turn that back, and there we go. We have card number 2 done. Okay, on to number 3. This one is going to be a sympathy card, and I'm holding this because I've already done a little prep work and I don't want to stick it yet. But this is also something that I've created in my computer, but there's plenty of stamps that have these type of sentiments on them. You can just stamp it. And I've literally just cut out squares. I didn't use any die cut for this. I just cut out the squares that I needed. In fact, I used my little Fiskars cutter here, and I cut out what I needed. Now this did come from a stamp. This is from May Made It. She has a website, a YouTube, a Facebook page, and when they do their stamps, she has a scripture stamp, and then she has a regular club stamp. You can get in the club. I just kind of buy what I want because there's not everything that I don't do a lot of cards, so I don't want everything. But this came from here, and she has SVG files on her website that now if you're not familiar with SVG, SVG file is a file that you can put into Cricut, and it's a cut file. So she has all these shapes for this stamp that you put into your Cricut, and then you cut them out, and then you can stamp on them. So she has videos on how to do all of that. So we'll just stay focused on our card. Now this one is going to be this way. This was that long, tall card we talked about. So this one's going to be this way. And then I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. This one couldn't be more simple. I literally am going to do my layers. So I'm going to go ahead and put my pretty paper on my white paper first. Okay, I'm just going to lay this down using the same methods I've used in the last 2 cards. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this on the front. Okay, while I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and put my insert in. Now I'm using this heavier cardstock from Stampin' Up! And the black, it's a really nice thick weight for a card. So I know this card is going to hold up. And I know some people don't save their cards, and that's fine. You know, here's the thing. I just love to make the homemade cards, and whether they keep it or not really doesn't have to concern me. I don't have to know about it. I do it for my pleasure to send a nice card. So what I've decided is I'm going to put my butterfly here, and I did this one all in black and white just because I really loved it. But I'm going to go ahead and set my sentiment down here in the corner. I've already, like I said, glued the mat and the sentiment, and then I've put my mounts, my foam mounts on the back, or foam tape, or whatever they want to call it. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue up my butterfly. Now, you can color this. I've been doing a little bit of research on inks, and Mimi has a video on that too. And the way you use the ink so that if you want to use markers, like alcohol markers, that it won't run, it's VersaFine, and she does have that on her website, and that helps the pigment stay in there, and then you can color, because I thought that might be kind of pretty, is like to color it yellow or something, just to give it that pop of color against the black and white. And then these are just some little flowers that I had gotten from Dollar Tree. If you follow me, you know I'm a big Dollar Tree shopper, and if I can find a craft or something to help me with my crafts there, then I'm going. And then put that there, and then you have a sweet little card. And these are so super easy to make and simple. Now, if you do not have stamps, or you don't stamp, you can also go to Dollar Tree and get butterflies, and look in their sticker section. You know, you can do this through there too. And then this sheet of paper here is just some patterned paper, that stock oh goodness, scrapbook paper that I had. So there you go. There's number 3. Okay, here is card number 4. I've already done a little bit of the prep work. So I did make these on, or this on my Cricut. Well, I made these because I was mass producing, so I made a bunch of them. But this was from the Cricut. I found a flower that I liked, and I did make that. But you don't necessarily need that. Remember, check Dollar Tree in their sticker section, or you can cut a flower out of a magazine for that matter. If you have digitals, find a flower from there. This is cardstock paper from Stampin' Up! And then this is just scrapbook paper that I had in my stash. What I did use was, I don't believe they carry this anymore, but Good Morning Magnolia. And I used this border. Again, you don't necessarily need this. You could always use a decorative cutter or decorative scissors. And so what I did was I just basically placed it and I taped it down kind of where I wanted it so that you could still see here. And then I ran it through my die cut. And then here I actually just sort of measured it up where I thought it was gonna land to make a nice little border. And then I ran this through as well. Now these edges I inked up because they were all white and I didn't care for that. So I inked them all up. So I've already done the prep work for the sentiment. Again, I just used my little guillotine and I did this in my computer. And then I just cut them all up by hand. Well, this, I used the guillotine to get it straight, or my trimmer. I might have used my trimmer for that. And then the sentiment, I've already got ready to go. And then for that, I used my oval die cuts. Okay, so this is another go-to. My ovals, my circles. I have some oblong ones that are, they have the decorative border, but these are just stasis. They stay by me because I use them all the time. All right, so let's get gluing this together. And you don't necessarily have to do the inking. I just like it. I just like how it looks. All right, so I'm gonna get that centered. There we go, got that first one. And then I noticed that I did not ink. I think I stopped inking. Yeah, you see, it doesn't necessarily have to be inked. So then we're gonna go ahead and put, well, let me get reorganized here. All right, so I want this to be glued just about here because I want to put my With Sympathy right about here. So I'm going to trim off this end. I don't think I need quite that much sticking out. I mean, you can do it whichever way. So I'm going to go ahead and get that glued down. And again, it's a lot easier when I'm sitting down, and sometimes I stand up to actually put the papers in just because I can get a better eyeball of what I'm doing from up here and not sitting in a chair at that angle. Okay, that's good enough. And then I'm going to go ahead and just place that. And like I said, that will all dry clear, so you don't have to worry about it. Another thing you can use, and I have used, is one of these, and they're two-way glue stick. And you just kind of pump the top down, and then you can glue all the way around that. So I have used that before. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and, oh no! I stuck my There we go. I stuck it down on the table. And then I think I'm gonna angle this just a little bit, sort of like this. Yep, happy with that. And then also there's these little butterflies. I did get these from Dollar Tree as well. They have a little foam on the back, but I'm going to go ahead and stick a little bit of art glitter glue on that as well. And then we're just going to put a little butterfly here in the corner. And then we'll go ahead and put our inside. So for this, we're going to go ahead and put our pretty paper, scrapbook paper. Dressy paper, digital paper, designer paper, scrapbook paper. Okay. Whatever you want to call it. Just don't call it designer series paper because Stampin' Up! Has that patent. They have that patent, so I don't think you can use that. And then like I said, I've already glued these together. And then what I'm going to do is just glue this right in the middle. And you can still sign, you know, you can sign the card down here and you can sign the card over here. On my sympathy cards, I honestly don't leave a whole lot of room for writing. I think the sentiment that I created, you know, says enough. And sometimes you just don't know what to say. So I just leave it be. I sign it, just prayers for you, thinking of you. But anyway, isn't that pretty? Isn't that just a pretty simple card? All right, so there's that sympathy card. Okay, on to some birthday cards. All right, so this is pretty simple as well. Basic card base. I have my sentiment for the inside. And then this one is cut to the same mat that I talked about, only this time it is run through this embossing folder. Which did come from Stampin' Up! And it will flatten out a little bit more. Not too bad, but this is the look that I got for that. These I got from the Dollar Tree. This I made on my computer. This I just cut every single piece out with my little mini guillotine. And super simple. So let's get started. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get that embossed piece down. Words come to my head. I do try to get the edges and the corners of these really good though, because with the embossing, you know, I want to make sure it's stuck. So I do give this one a little bit more glue. I don't want it oozing, but I do give it a little more glue. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put that down. I think I need to move that up just a little bit. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this here. And then sometimes with these, another little trick that I do. Now this is actually brown. When I printed it in brown. I made a big border so that when I cut around it, I would still have that nice chunky border. But I have been known to take Sharpies and do this. A brown one would be better, but since I don't have brown, that way my white doesn't show, or my cream. It doesn't have to be done, it's just me. All right, so I'm going to glue this together. I'm going to glue all of these on. And then I'm going to glue on my little cupcakes, and then I'll be right back because you don't need to see me glue. Okay, so let's get this assembled. I went ahead and put my sentiment on the inside just to have that done. And then I have glued these on, but one thing before I glued this one, I wanted to show you that this has a double little foam mount to make them like 3D. And I took the foam mounts off of these just not to make it too bulky. I did put a foam mount on the sentiment, but I took it off of this back one and just glued it on there. I also did not put foam mounts on any of these because, like I said, I don't want to make it too bulky in case you want to send it through the mail. I have sent all my cards through the mail, and I've never gotten anything back that says, you know, it won't go through or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to set them there for now until I just sort of eyeball where this is going to go. So I'm going to set that right there. And that way I can adjust these maybe. And then I'm going to do my bottom ones first. Only because I feel like if I can get these adjusted, then I can get that middle one. So if I just sort of eyeball here, I'm just looking for that little, you know, 1/8 of an inch. Might be a little more than that. I can get that set. And then same on this side. That way when I go to set my top one, I'm getting a little bit more of feel for where that one should go. If my fingers would work. Okay. That's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. Might be able to get that up. Maybe. It's one thing with the foam from Dollar Tree. Sometimes you can wiggle it up a little bit, so I can straighten that up. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so there is that one. Okay, here's another happy birthday card, number 6. So this one is a little bit different. So I got my scoreboard back out. I've done the scoring, but I want to explain it to you. So I am using a regular base, the base that we've talked about, 5.5 by 4 1/4. But now what I've done is I have scored my normal along the 8.5 side. I've scored my normal 4 1/4. Then I turned it over. How'd I do that? No, you don't need to turn it over. If you do it this way, then obviously you're going to turn it over. So, and it doesn't really matter. So don't turn it over. I mean, it matters to me, but it doesn't have to matter to you. All right. So then I scored in from this side to 2 1/8. Okay. The 1/8 makes a difference. Then there's going to be this insert piece that I've already stamped on. And this piece is 7 1/8 by, looks like 3.5. I think I got it a little bit wonky, but 3.5. I'm then going to score the long side at, what did I score that at? I scored it at 2 5/8, and then at 5. Okay. So you're going to have these pieces cut down, and now we'll get to assembling the card. So for this card, it is a little bit of a lighter weight card. It's not too bad, but I've gone ahead mostly with the borders because I liked the way it looked. So I'm gonna lay this on this border, or on this panel. I'm gonna glue this to the white border, then we'll glue on this panel. I'm gonna get that done, and then we'll come back to show you this. Okay, so I have glued all of these in. I forgot to give you the measurements on these two pieces here, the matte paper and this one. So the matte white is gonna be 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. Your scrapbook paper is going to be 1 5/8 by 5. Okay, and it gives it that nice little border. These are just the same measurements that I had given you in the beginning. All right, so now we have our decorative paper. So you can get this again from a scrapbook paper. This was from a digital. You can get this anywhere. And how I made those edges, I just cut them out, and then I used my favorite punch and did the edges. And when you punch this one, you have to punch this way and turn this way, or you can't just turn it this way. You're gonna get a funky little punch. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to take where this says celebrate your day, the wide piece here, I'm going to turn that over, and I'm actually going to just kind of square that up and glue that in here. I'm just going to glue here and glue it to the card, the pretty card or picture or whatever. You could even put a family picture. Wouldn't that be fun? Like, you look just like Grandpa Joe or something like that, that has maybe a funny picture of Grandpa Joe. That'd be funny. All right, so I'm going to turn this over, woo, I think, and then I'm going to go ahead and just sort of place that in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect because we'll make it better over here. Okay, so now when you do this, you have your celebrate your day, right? We turned it over, we glued it on, and now we can turn it back this way. Now, how we're going to do this is, first of all, we want to get this kind of set where we want it. This is how I do it. Might be an easier way, I don't know, but you know what? I've got to ink that up first, because if I don't, it's just going to bug me. You don't have to, but if I want to send, you know, I'm going to send this card, I do want to get it inked up. See how it just makes it look richer, you know? It just kind of brings it all out. Okay, there. I feel better now, don't you? So what I'm going to do is the part on the back of where it says celebrate your day, I'm going to put some glue here. Only here for right now. And this does dry pretty quick, so I'm not going to hang out too long in this area. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my card, and I'm going to sort of eyeball where I want this to land. And then I'm just going to start working it, like where do I want that to land? That looks good. Okay. Now, while it's in place, I'm going to press that down. That way, this ends up where I want it. This does. Although, you do kind of want to make sure it's not wonky this way as well. So, might be better to put this part on first, and then maybe that is how I did it the first time. But anyway, there it is. Okay, so then I'm just going to turn this over, and then I'm going to put just some glue right at that tip here. You don't want to put it in here because you don't want anything sticking down where this card can't move. And then I'm going to push that down, and then you have your card. Yeah, how cute is that, right? And then, of course, I have a stamp that has birthday wishes. I did use an oblong die cut set that I have, and then just find a place where you want to pop that, and you're done. Let's see. And you could even pop one of those butterflies up here too, or a little embellishment. Depends on your picture, how much is going on in your picture. Like I have this one too, and there was enough going on here that I didn't want to do anything else to it. So, okay, now we have one more card to do and we're going to be done. I'll be back. Okay, 7th and final card in this little series I got going here. So again, we are going to start with the same card base. We're going to start with the same mats. And then I'm actually using a Made It stamp again, the Best Day Ever stamp. I did use my, I don't know what they call them, but they're like a stamp board. This one's from Stampin' Up, but you position your paper in there, and then you kind of get it where you want it, and you put your magnet down. I only use the one magnet, but I get it right where I want it. And then you put your stamp here first, and then you grab a hold of it and bring it back, and then stamp it up. And what it's good for is, if you don't get like a full coverage, you can bring it back, stamp more on there, and then press it again. And I had to do that a couple times because I'm working with some inks I hadn't before, because I really wanted the dark shadow. But I'm thinking VersaFine is what I need, so I'm going to invest in some of that. I think this was the archival, but then I did go in even after that and sort of colored it in a little bit with marker just because I wanted it dark. But anyway, I did get that where I wanted it. And then, of course, I cut it just to fit on that border. Again, to make that nice little border. And I am double matting this because, again, this is a little bit thinner paper, so I'm trying to just thicken that up a little bit. So I've used Hope This Birthday Is right here. And then I went ahead and just cut out the pieces I need to make the matte border for that. I used my little bow stamp here, which was a good investment because I find I use this thing a lot too. But then made this piece and this piece. But then this I just cut out of the paper. I don't have any of the paper left to show you what I cut it out of, because it was sort of a scrapbook paper that was blocks, and I just cut out the blocks that I needed. So I will tell you what sizes these are. So we're going to be making the cake one. And this one is 3 3/4 by 1 3/4. That's your bottom layer. We're going to do 3 1/4 by 1 3/4. Every one of those were the same on the width. And then this one is going to be 2 3/4 by 1 3/4. So there's the start of our cake. Now there's a couple ways I'm going to be doing these little borders, or your little, that goes on the cake. I don't know what you call it. Your frosting. We're going to put frosting on the cake. Now I did use this border die cut, and I just went through and I just did the border, but then to get it, straight, and I did it longer because they can be cut off, I just lined it up, and then I did a pencil mark across at 1/2 inch, and then I just used my little cutter, or you can just cut with scissors across there. Or if you have decorative scissors, like I had these, you can do the same thing. If you have a Cricut, you can do that. Scan and Cut, they have a couple things in there. But then you have your cake frosting. Okay, So let's see if I got everything. Yep, I think I've told you everything, but I'm going to use these. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one as straight as I can across, so I've got 3. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, so I don't lose my little button here that goes, you know, with the cake, I'm gonna get that glued. I'm gonna start gluing that. Okay. And I'm not gonna ink any of this up. It's fine without it. I'm gonna get that and set that aside. Now I'm gonna start to glue on my borders, and I'm just gonna do them individually. I don't care if I go over a little bit because it's all going to be cut. And then I'm going to line this up with the top, and I want to make sure I get that lined up real well. And then I'll just push that down. Let that dry while I get the other ones done. So I make these a little bit longer so I can cut them off at either end and get a nice smooth professional cake making border. Okay, that one up there. Okay, and then one more. Okay. Oh, get that up there so I can't see the yellow. All right. I'm going to let those kind of dry a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and put my border on, or my sentiment on my border. And then since I'm gluing, I think I'm going to go ahead and get the center done. I usually do it last, but since I'm gluing and getting glue all over myself because I'm trying to hurry, I'm not really sure how long this video has gotten. So, but I want to get all of this in one video because, I don't know, because I want to get it all in one video. So I'm going to get this on. And normally I would glue this to the mat first before I put it in the page too. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm getting good enough at it now that I can get them pretty centered. At first, when I first started doing it, I thought, well, I don't want to make it, like if I just glued this to the mat and I didn't do it right, then it's only the mat and this that I have to get rid of, right? I don't have to start all over with the whole card. All right, so we're going to do that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and glue this mat down as well, because this one I would want glued down. I don't want to wait and put everything on it until afterwards. Okay, let's get that glued. All right, now we're going to go ahead and snip off these little pieces. Oh, I don't think I got that one glued all the way to the end. That's okay, I can fix it. And then I'm going to use these scissors. I like these a little bit better for this. Okay, so, so, the first thing I did was I took my big one And then I just started to kind of layer them where I thought they looked good. And if I remember correctly, I put my sentiment at the top. No, that was at the bottom. That's right, I didn't do that because that was at the bottom. All right, so I just kind of lined it up, and then I would pull out this one first, just sort of leaving everything in place. And then I kind of held it, and then just slipped it down in there. Looks good at the top. Because that way I figured I could make all my adjustments on the way down. Okay. Now, put that back where I had them. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, they're homemade cards, right? And they should look homemade. They should look like, not terrible, but they should look like someone spent some time trying to line them up and get them to fit just right. There's that one. And then the last one. Okay, there we go. Then I took my little piece that I had just cut from that paper, and I didn't care if it came over the top just a tiny bit because it's going to get hidden with the bow. But then I'm going to go ahead and lay that. And I'm just going to turn this so I can kind of see a little bit if I'm getting it in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my bow on the top. And this can just be a bow, you know, that you make out of paper, or you can make an actual ribbon bow as well to put on there. Okay, I'm going to put that. Then I'm going to put my sentiment right across the bottom there. And actually you could, I'm going to actually pop this one up. Yep, I'm going to pop this one up. Okay. All right, so we're just gonna pop that kind of across there. That looks good. I'm gonna do that, and then the last touch that I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put some little gemstones. You can find these at the Dollar Tree too. These didn't come from the Dollar Tree, but you can find similar things there. And normally I would go through and just put a glue dot everywhere as well, just because I think it would just help stick them a little bit more, but I probably can always go through and pull them up. But yeah, I'm just gonna throw some gemstones around there. And while I'm doing this, just want to say thanks for watching. I'm gonna put this in a playlist that is Let's Make a Card. I'm doing a lot of Let's Make-as. They're kind of fun. If you follow me at all, you know I'm kind of all over the board with whatever, you know, whim I have that day. Some days I don't like to do the same thing over and over. I don't just particularly like to work on a journal. I don't, you know, sometimes I want to make a card. Sometimes I just want to make stuff for a journal that I can put inside of it. Sometimes, you know, different things. I just want to sit and make pockets out of, you know, book pages and music pages or tags. I just feel like making tags. So I've sort of started this Let's Make. I have a Let's Make a journal, Let's Make a card. I think I have another Let's Make in there somewhere. I don't know. I forgot. But anyway, so yeah, I check out my other playlist. If you just kind of one day you're like, I lost my mojo, I don't know what to do, you know, go to Let's Make a Journal. I'm starting some really simple things in there for everyone. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me get all this stuff kind of out of the way. I hope you've enjoyed this little series. So here is the first one. Here is the second one I think we did. I don't know, I've lost track. There's this one, there's this one, there's this one. Is that 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And where is, nope, and here's 7. So yeah, I hope you found that interesting and fun, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for joining me. Bye.